Kazal here, with a new Interceptor build with all new gear from the Armed and Dangerous free content update for Everspace 2. Today I'm going to go over the build, how it all comes together, some general Rift and gameplay tips, and then jump straight into a 1K Lunacy Rift to showcase what this build is capable of. The entirety of this build is all about maximizing primary weapon damage for the new weapon, the Shredder. This weapon variant favors kinetic damage and has an increased spread and decreased range relative to the standard Gauss cannon. However, it has a trait which increases its critical hit damage by 20%. For attributes, I am using 20% increased damage in sunlight, 20% increased damage against ancients, and kills give 1% increased damage for 8 seconds. Our catalyst of choice is Barrage, which increases weapon damage by 4% every second, up to 40%. Our second primary weapon is the Vigilante Judge, which we are using solely for the set bonus, which causes locked targets to receive a stack of destabilized every second, increasing the damage they take by 10%. Our final primary weapon is the Rogue Rattler, which is also used solely for the set bonus, and gives us 10% increased damage, handling, and ship speed so long as there are no friendly or neutral enemies within 2 kilometers. For secondary weapons, we are using the Jury for its set bonus and boss damage, the Rascal for its set bonus, and Whirlwind for the set bonus and access to the Exploitation perk. For modules, we're using the Triton Core from the Tides of Siren Sea set, which gives us 30% increased ultimate generation, the Stratocumulus from the Storm Chaser set, which gives us a 25% increased energy orb drop chance, and a trait to increase the range from which they are pulled. The Ornate Plating from the Opulent set, which gives us 2% increased weapon damage for each Starforged item equipped. The Wave Pulse Analyzer, also from the Tides of Siren Sea set, which has a new attribute which increases Gauss Cannon damage by 20%. And finally, the Deluxe Booster and Treasury Unit, also from the Opulent set. All modules, with the exception of the Sensor, are Firepower, Precision, and 5% increased crit chance. For this Sensor, we sacrifice the Firepower to get the 20% Gauss Cannon damage. For our ship passives, we have 10% increased primary weapon damage. Collecting an energy orb grants 1% increased critical hit chance. When entering a location, gain 20% increased boost in fire rate for 60 seconds. And when firing primary weapons, gain 1% increased critical hit damage every second to a maximum of 20%. For our devices, we are using Teleporter Scurry, EMP Generator with Short Circuit or Hard Reset, Fusion Hook with your mode of choice, and Magnetic Repulsor with Energy Leak. For the player perks, we are using Defensive Massacre for the shield recharge, Play It Safe to make use of reactive armor, Crit Happens for extra damage, Critical Faculty for ult generation, Exploitation to increase crit chance, and Symphony of Destruction for significant AoE damage. So bringing it all together, we have an increase of 152% damage from firepower, 20% while in sunlight, 10% primary weapon damage, 20% against ancients, 20% increased Gauss Cannon damage. Our targets will take 10 to 60% more damage. We will deal 10% increased damage as long as there are no neutrals or friendlies nearby. A total of 24% increased damage due to our Starforged items, up to 40% increased primary weapon damage from Barrage, 20% increased fire rate. Our ultimate will increase our damage by 100% and our fire rate by 50% and be extended by 1 second for every kill we get. And to feed back into our ultimate, we have 2 bonuses giving us more ultimate energy. We'll be using the Consumable to increase our weapon damage by 40% for 20 seconds. And finally, we have an attribute which will increase our weapon damage by 1%, up to 25% for 8 seconds. In total, this gives us anywhere between 240 to 521% increased damage. If this were hypothetically displayed on our weapon card for the Shredder, on the low end, that would mean its kinetic DPS is somewhere around 19k, where on the high end, it would be upwards of 72 to almost 73,000 damage per second. And now, on the critical hit side of the house, we have a base 24% crit chance and a 2 multiplier from precision. We have 30% increased critical hit chance from our module attributes, the Exploitation perk, which increases our crit chance by 50% against enemies who have movement impairing effects, which is primarily fed by EMP Generator and Magnetic Repulsor. We have a ship passive, which increases our crit chance by 1% for every energy orb we collect, which is caused by kills, our set bonus, and Magnetic Repulsor energy leak. Our weapon trait, which increases our critical hit damage by 20%, and another ship passive, which increases our critical hit damage by 1% for every second that we hold our fire button. All of these modifiers feed into our 2 perks, Crit Happens, which makes our crits have a chance to cause an explosion, and also, mainly, Symphony of Destruction, where destroying an enemy with a critical hit will cause an explosion for a substantial amount of damage. And now for some general Rift and gameplay tips. This build is all about maximizing your buff uptime by killing enemies as quickly as possible, so dive into the fray and use your ultimate and damage booster as soon as you engage your enemies. Prioritize targeting enemies that have a lot of health, and have enemies nearby to make the most of your Symphony of Destruction perk. Make use of your mobility devices to mitigate time between waves of enemies and maximize the effect of your on-kill type buffs. Use your warfare devices to provide the exploitation and play it safe perks as the situation requires. Be sure to manually cancel your ultimate either right before or right after you finish a wave, and quickly get kills and orbs to recharge your ultimate before you jump into the next round. For which rifts to choose, I generally prioritize modifiers that will cause area of effect damage, or evasive to allow enemies to get into my range faster. Try to avoid the options that increase the effective health of enemies, and never take overheated systems when you are using a Gauss cannon. By using these tips, it is very possible to have nearly 100% uptime on your ultimate, and to clear 1k lunacy rifts in total under 4 minutes.